Dools.
Has.
PS5 and Xbox Series X are fast approaching, and so are the launch titles. We've got predictions, let's just talk about it. The Dools, just roll the intro. Welcome, one and all, to another episode of the More Cops on Duty podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Harry. With me, of course, is the Xbox to my PlayStation, Edward Dools Dooley. Dools, how you doing this fine evening?
Has I got to question again, second week in a row now, the label you're attaching to me, the Xbox to your PlayStation. Yeah. So if we were video game consoles that were put on the market, you would be the one that would sell 100 plus million. I would barely scrape past 40. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. Yeah. Greatness awaits in me, Dools.
Bold. Very
bold.
I'm consumer friendly, and you're an arrogant old Japanese man. I mean, that's what I'm gathering. That's not racist. It's a Japanese company. Just felt like I had to clarify that for some reason.
Yeah. Dools, how you doing, mate?
Mate, I'm all right. I just sent you a little bit of good news earlier. Cinemas to reopen here July 2nd. I'm stoked.
Round of applause. Round of applause.
It's about time. It's about time.
I don't give a fuck about pubs and clubs and shit like that. Sure, I'm happy to have beer every now and then. Cinemas,
mate, we can get beer at the cinema.
That's true. But, I made popcorn the other day just in the microwave, and that, smell of, popcorn, that was, that subtle hint of popcorn in my apartment. I was like,
you just had flashbacks?
I had Vietnam flashbacks right there. It was crazy, man.
Dude, I was saying to you, so July 2nd, let me have a quick look. That is that's a Thursday. So, classic day. I mean, I don't know what big releases are coming out that day, but I mean, so let's try and see at least one, if not two, that night. And then I'm thinking Saturday, Sunday, straight up fucking movie days. Just
mate, I'm clearing my schedule.
Support Cremorne. Maybe we can catch one on that Samsung screen at Hoyt's. We'll see what the deal is.
Absolutely.
I think
as soon as they open up, we need to support them.
Because I think what they're going to do is, and it's smart, because I think hopefully they maybe pull a similar stunt to China, and they just put out some big classic movies, some big blockbusters, and just to really entice people to come back. And because I'm not sure what new films are going to be ready for that imminent reopening. I mean, Tenet, I think, is mid-July, so it's not going to be quite ready. But thank God we're going to be able to. This is now confirmation we can see Tenet in cinemas on release, which is.
I wonder how they're going to do it, because with social distancing still, Dools. Would it be everyone has to sit a seat apart or something?
So yeah, I imagine so. I mean, pubs, clubs, cafes, restaurants, they have a 50-person capacity rule from July 1st, and that could be amended again by June 1st, and that could be further amended come July. So I mean, things could even look more normal by then. But I think just because it's a static kind of area, a cinema, I think they believe transmission is a bit there's more of a likelihood in that kind of environment, which I guess makes sense. But I mean, whatever. So I think they want to start with 20 people per cinema and then move up from there. But I don't know. I mean, I'm going off that step-by-step plan the government put out. So I think So I mean, just by proxy of that, you would have to imagine that you would have to space everyone out. So I mean, everyone who's not sitting with another person would have to be a couple seats apart of that kind of thing. And yes, I mean, it would definitely be a very staggered opening, and tickets are going to be highly sought after. So
yeah, true. Speaking of sought after, Dools, let's say that an average Joe stumbles upon our podcast in the middle of Spotify and wonders, what is More Cops on Duty? How would you describe it to them, Dools?
Well, if we haven't given it away already, it's a film about it's a podcast about films and
Nice.
TV and games when we feel like it. Today's episode, in fact, will be centered largely around video games because we're fucking nerds. You can find the More Cops on Duty podcast on your podcast platform of choice, be it Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all those other ones. that
pretty
apparently
good.
exist, but I haven't heard of. Podbean being the center of it all. Has morecupsonduty.com is now a thing. It's up and running. You got some reviews up there. I've got you're managing that side of those side of things. I'm managing the Real Deal, our editorial section of the site, where you only get the facts and nothing but. Check it out if you haven't already. We've done a couple of stories. We try to keep as current and relevant as possible. The most recent 2 stories cover the Make Solo 2 Happen campaign, which for the unfamiliar is people riding the wave that is now this trend of trying to get unreleased director's cuts or sequels which deserve a fighting chance and getting those made. So in the wake of the announcement of the Snyder Cut, everyone's like, well, what about my fucking niche movie that I want to see? And people are clamoring for Solo too. And then there was another story on how James Mangold now confirmed to be directing Indiana Jones 5 and how that is terrifying people simply because we saw what he did to the main hero in Logan. So, yeah.
Nice.
And we do a podcast,
Dools.
which is this, and you're listening to it.
Nice. So we release twice a week, one on Wednesday for your Prime show and one on Friday, which is this for your more discussion review show. We've chosen a discussion this week, Dools, because it was just announced today that there might be a PlayStation 5 event next week, revealing a little bit more info. We don't know what we're going to see, whether it will be the box, the price, titles of launch titles. We don't know. We know the specs and it's fucking powerful, and we've seen a tech demo. That's it. And we've seen a controller. That's it. But I think that we should just spend this episode it'll be pretty short this episode, I reckon. But just speculate of what we would see and venture out of what our predictions are in terms of launch titles for both PS5 and Xbox. Xbox, it's pretty hard, other than one clear exclusive that's almost definitely going to be there, right? But there's some definite third-party support that's going to be there. But yeah, what do you reckon, Dools?
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. I think we truly know next to nothing about what they're going to show us. Well, I think one thing is for certain that we will see some gameplay. I think to not show some gameplay at this stage would just look silly, and I think they have a prime opportunity to jump on that because simply and capitalize on that simply because Xbox really just screwed up when they didn't do that in a digital event, which they were screaming from the rooftops would be a gameplay event, and then showing a gameplay.
Yeah, Microsoft has taken a couple of rounds first, but not saying they've won it, but they've started a couple of rounds first. They showed the box, shown the controller, they've shown specs, and they've said they've shown gameplay, but the box came out and it was a very mixed review. Not many people liked it, didn't think it would fit in their home entertainment system with it being tall rather than long. The gameplay, as you said, was a complete fuck up of in a 30-minute showcase, there was about 25 seconds of actual gameplay of the new gen. So Sony was originally criticized for being silent, but they're taking the back seat and letting Microsoft do what they do. And then next week, if they do an event, this is their major chance to take a swing and potentially knock out Microsoft for the launch spot.
Yeah, so I think this is not to suck Sony's dick, but allow me to get on my knees for a second. I think this is a strategic stroke of genius from their part, simply because they're kind of letting Microsoft, do the focus group testing for them, in the way of showing off next gen games, which I thought just the way they led with it. So this was their first next gen gameplay showcase. And look, no offense, but the games they showed were not of like you wouldn't think next gen. Like they were all third party, borderline indie, mostly double A titles, meaning like, you know, they're not AAA, they're not the big budget blockbuster games you might see from Activision, EA, Ubisoft, and first parties. So I think people mocked Xbox not just for the lack of gameplay, but because like, well, hold on, this is what you have to show us. Like, I mean, Sony's going to blow you guys out of the water. The Last of Us Part 2, a last-gen game, looks 10 times better than all of these. So I think, you know, they were subjected to a bit of ridicule on that part. But, they have been going quite early. I mean, they announced the console, and they did this with the Xbox One X, but they announced the console as far back as E3 2019. So they're like, look, confirmed, you're getting a next-generation Xbox holiday 2020. And then end of that year, end of 2019, at the Video Game Awards, they straight up showed us the box and gave us a name and reaffirmed that 2020 release date. So, it looked like a fridge. It looked like a computer tower.
It looks like a fridge.
It does, dude. It straight up looks like it belongs in the kitchen. In fact, I think one of the Xbox execs, who was the head of marketing, Aaron Greenberg, poked fun at that meme and had a bit of fun with it. Like, because in that Gameplay Digital event, they're all on like Microsoft Teams or whatever, going back and forth between them, and he's got like you can like overlay a background image to be your background, kind of like in Zoom and Microsoft Teams, and basically in his kitchen, his fridge was an Xbox One X, Series X.
That's awesome.
So that was pretty funny. I had a bit of fun with that. But they called it the Xbox Series X, which I think kind of falls in line with their, kind of ideology that now they see Xbox as this continuous hardware brand, and there's no, so I mean, hardware is just always going to be this thing. It'll, they're almost treating consoles like phones now. I mean, no, we're not going to get one every year, but every few years you can expect an upgrade, and we kind of saw the beginning of that in last gen with the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro. So, and I think calling it Xbox Series something, because they now view the consoles, the Xbox console, as just Xbox. And then they'll always have like a colon something. So Series X, and then you can expect Series whatever down the track. So yeah, I mean, compared to Microsoft, Sony have really not shown anything. And so this is like the first, so we can go over it real quick, but Mark Cerny, who's like the lead architect on the PlayStation 5, and he was on previous consoles, did like a quick, which you could tell was meant to be for GDC, a overview of like the architecture of the console. It was really boring. Like for anyone who doesn't really understand all that technical stuff, it just would fly over your head, and everyone was expecting talk about games or maybe at least showing the box or anything. And so Sony kind of have stumbled so far as well in their PS5 messaging, but I think there's been enough time has passed since that they can kind of start fresh. So I think like whatever this event is next week, and we're a lot of people going back and forth between June 3 and 4 as to when it'll occur. To Sony's benefit, they can kind of do it whenever they want, because it'll be this pre-prepared digital event. It's not like they're doing it live like a conference. They can.
It's probably already done.
I'm sure they've been crafting it for a while now, and that's the benefit they have. In this climate, they can really control the message, however they like. So, and they really have no excuse not to knock it out of the park. But yeah, we don't know what to expect. But it'll be interesting. I mean, should we properly get into it with our expectations and predictions?
Absolutely. So,
should we get Xbox out of the way first, do you think?
Let's get Xbox out of the way. So as Dools said, specs have been released. We're just right now. Let's just have some fun. Let's predict some launch titles. Xbox Dools. We can almost. Is it guaranteed that Halo Infinite's going to be launch?
I think they've been saying Infinite would be a launch title for a while now, unless that because of coronavirus, game development has kind of slowed down a little bit and needs to be delayed. unless that's the case, I'm pretty sure it's a lock for launch. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we have
so.
not seen gameplay, so I think that is Xbox have said that there will be a first party only event in July, and I think especially after what happened with that first event, if they don't show actual gameplay, social media will eat them alive. So you can almost you can definitely expect Halo gameplay, and I'm personally fucking stoked to see that. I'm a huge Halo fan, so.
That's awesome. But we talked about this before the podcast. Gears of War is probably not going to be there because the last one came out last year.
Yeah, Gears 5 came out last year. So, I mean, I was thinking, well, maybe they'll show us a little tease or a tech demo. Because I'm sure they still would have been working on a next gen thing for a while. So, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they do show a little something, but it would just be so early. And plus, you really want Halo to take the center stage for this thing.
Do you reckon Forza's going to be there?
So I think Forza will. Yeah. So I think next in line is a mainline Forza title. They've got the 2 series, Forza Motorsport, which is like the more racing sim akin to Gran Turismo, and then they have Forza Horizon, which is a little more arcadey. I think you can almost definitely expect to see Forza Motorsport. I'm not sure which numbered entry they're up to. It might be 8. I think the last one might have been 7. Not 100%. But no, I think you can definitely expect that. And that's like a classic. Like racing games always look fucking gorgeous to show off on next gen.
Yeah.
So I think you can, 110% expect to see that.
Absolutely. One of my sorry.
Yeah, you go.
One of my hopeful predictions, because I was a fan of this game originally, Alan Wake Dools. I'm hoping to see a new one.
Yeah, I think that's look at that. I think it's a possibility. Remedy have actually been like talking about Alan Wake quite a bit recently, and I mentioned it to you earlier. It could be that because it's also been revealed that Alan Wake is like set in the same universe as their most recent game, Control, and he's apparently going to have something to do with the second part of the Control DLC, which is due to come out pretty soon. So. How that manifests, I'm not sure, but I mean, I think Alan Wake 2 is extremely likely. I'm actually playing through the first one at the moment. It's awesome. It's like survival horror. Like this author who's been having serious writer's block has just he's experiencing his own horror story come to life, and it's really cool. I mean, Remedy have a pretty interesting relationship with Microsoft. I mean, Quantum Break and a few of their other games have been exclusive, so I think I think it's likely.
Do you have any others for Xbox?
So I think, let's see. I mean, they bought a bunch of studios because they needed to kind of bolster their first party catalog. And they did so, I think it was at E3 2018 that they just pretty much announced the acquisition of a bunch of studios. So amongst them were like... I think, let's see. Sorry, 1 second. So, Obsidian, who, if you're a Fallout fan, you would recognize from, they made Fallout New Vegas. They also made the more recent, The Outer Worlds, which I loved. It was like, which is pretty much like Fallout in space.
They did them. Nice.
Yeah. So, I think, it might be too early for an Outer Worlds 2 teaser, but, who knows? I think we might see a little something from them. We might just get basically like someone from the team will come and be like, we can confirm the Outer Worlds is a franchise and we're working on the sequel as we speak. Can't wait to show you guys more soon. I think it would be probably too early to show stuff, but I think that you get them to come on and kind of be like, yeah, you can expect to see more from us, blah, blah, blah. They also bought Double Fine, so it's Tim Schafer's studio. He's made games like Brutal Legend, which has like Jack Black in it, Psychonauts, and a bunch of other games that I'm not too familiar with, but I think that Psychonauts 2, which is like people apparently looking forward to, is coming out soon, and they might have something else to show as well. A big rumor is that we're going to see an actual sequel to Minecraft. We're going to finally see a Minecraft 2, which, if you really think about it for a second, is very interesting because it's like Minecraft is the number one selling video game of all time. I think it's like 230 something million copies sold, and
more than GTA.
Yeah, GTA is like only 130. Well, I say only 130. It's still enormous, but yeah, dude, you think about Minecraft's
right?
been
That's
around since like what, like 08, 09, and it's just on every single platform imaginable. You know, from iPhones to Switch, and it's just very cheap and accessible. I mean, yeah, it's I think it's incredible how close GTA actually is, to be honest. I think, because that just seems not as mainstream. But, well, I mean, yeah, it's still weird to think that Minecraft is mainstream. But, no, it's just doing so well. It's like, well, why would they release a brand new game? You'd think, if anything, they would just make a huge patch that people can opt in and pay for. But anyway, I don't know, because it's a rumor, that would be pretty cool. Because, yeah, Microsoft did purchase Mojang, I think it is, not too long ago.
Mojang.
I think it was revealed to be. I think it was actually confirmed to be Mojang has the J is silent.
Nah, Mojang.
You sure about
that? About 70%.
I'm about 85, but anyway,
60% of the time,
folks at home can fact check in their own time. So I mean, yeah, Minecraft too. I mean, that's not something I'd be heaps into, but I mean that would be pretty cool to see just from like an industry standpoint. And then real quick, I think they already showed it when they announced the console itself at the VGAs, but Hellblade 2 from Ninja Theory. So the first game was actually really cool, and it's kind of like, did you ever play it, Hellblade?
No.
Yeah, so it's real interesting. It's like about this like female warrior. I think it's set in like Norse mythology, but basically she deals with psychosis and she has all these demons, talking at her and stuff. And anyway, it's interesting, but I mean, at its core, it's like it's a sword fighting game and stuff, and it's pretty good. I think we'll see gameplay from Rare's, so Rare Studios Everwild, which they announced. I think when did they announce that? It might have been last E3, but yeah. So basically, we already had gotten a teaser for that, and it was basically all but confirmed there'll be a Series X game. So it looks like Rare is kind of coming back to form. I mean, it looks like a colourful adventure game. It looks like cel shaded. Gave people Breath of the Wild vibes, so it actually looks really cool. And finally, two more. People are thinking we might see a Fable reboot. So Fable is a long dormant Xbox IP who was originally, I think, is it Lionhead Studios? Yeah, it sounds about right. Headed up by Peter Molyneux, and that kind of, after Fable 3, that kind of just, went away for a bit. They tried to bring it back with this, I think, like, online service game, Fable Legends, but that was cancelled, which was weird, because that game looked done, and they showed it a bunch of times, and then just one day they were like, yeah, we're cancelling it. So it must have been terrible. So that'll be interesting. And the interesting thing about Fable as well is that it's strongly rumoured that it's going to be from the second team at Playground Games. And Playground Games currently are doing the Forza Horizon series. So that would be a serious kind of left turn for those guys to go from racing to that. But I mean, we've seen similar kind of different trajectories from other studios. So keep an eye on that. And finally, The Initiative, which is a big studio which has a bunch of big names, has been the most secretive. This is Microsoft's studio that they've built from scratch, so they didn't buy this. They created this studio and they poached a bunch of talent from like Rockstar, Insomniac, and a bunch of other LA-based studios. And basically they're like, big call. They were like, yeah, we're going to make the world's first quadruple A game. It's like, all right, guys. Let's just so they're boasting a lot of talent, and they're saying like, yeah, this is going to be a huge like game-changing game. So I'd be disappointed if we didn't get at least a teaser from those guys. So and I'd be very fascinated to see what this fucking quadruple A shit looks like. Yeah, so that's Xbox. I think it'll be interesting to see what they do end up showing off. I think I'm more excited than ever to see Halo, just because it's really being touted as a return to form. So the first teaser we saw for it was like an in-engine demo, and this is like 2017 now, so years ago. And basically, it looked like it was a redesigned Master Chief, but to look more like his OG self. So like back in think Halo 1 to 3 look, because they kind of drastically changed his appearance for 4 and 5, just because like it was a new studio heading up things. It was meant to reflect kind of like a soft reboot of the franchise. And I get that you want to give him his, a new identity because it's a new studio. But people almost universally shat on it, so they're like, fuck it, let's just go back to the old art direction and what made Halo Halo. And they're kind of like, look, we've heard the fans loud and clear, like, we really want to go back to what made Halo Halo. And so, I mean, I'm just going to be so fascinated to see, if they can deliver. And I don't know, man, the hype is like fucking real for this Halo game, because this will have been borderline coming on 6 years since Halo 5. So they've had a long time to craft this. So yeah, people have really high expectations.
Insane. Before we go into PlayStation Duels, I reckon we should just read out just a couple of the or just all the third parties that we know are going to be there. Like we're probably going to get a FIFA, we're probably going to get a Madden, probably going to get a NBA 2K. We're getting AC Valhalla. Call of Duty's definitely going to be on there. Watch Dogs Legion, if it's not launch, it's in launch window, definitely.
So do you think we're going to see third-party stuff?
Well, I'm just saying, like,
because all these guys are doing their own events as well. I mean, Ubisoft confirmed.
I was talking about launch titles, like what we're going to get at.
Oh, sorry, I get you. I thought like seeing this event. Yeah.
No. Like, we'll probably get Avengers will probably be playable on PS5 as well.
Yeah, so I think we'll talk about this in a bit, but I've got a point here about what PlayStation's version of Smart Delivery is, which is like the free upgrade of cross-gen games, so PS4 to PS5. But yeah, and
Fortnite, if I didn't mention that. But
yeah, they've confirmed that. Yeah, Apex Legends as well, another battle royale.
So should I list out some PS5 exclusives that might come up with Duels?
Yeah, go for it.
So I reckon, in terms of launch, I reckon we're getting a Ratchet and Clank sequel.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon we're getting Horizon Zero Dawn 2, whatever it's called. Whatever Blue Point Studios is working on, we're probably going to get that. I reckon we're going to get a tease of Spider-Man 2, probably to come out either next year or the year after.
Did you copy my notes?
I did. And that's all I have. Do you have any? What do you have?
So yeah, I said I had sequel to 2016 Ratchet and Clank as launch title. I had a small wrinkle on your Horizon one. I think we will get a new Horizon. I think we're definitely getting a Guerrilla Games game because they're definitely working on multiple IPs. Whether it's Horizon, I'm not 100%, but I'm fairly certain. But I actually think it's this rumored Horizon 1.5 co-op game that has been talked about, and that will kind of like bridge the gap between 1 and 2. So, because I think it's just a little bit too soon for 2, just because there's also talk of how ambitious they want the sequel to be. So I think 2021, I think, is a safe bet for Horizon 2.
Sure.
Yeah, I also have Blue Point's game, which is strongly rumored to be a Demon's Souls remake at launch. And then, yeah, I have Spider-Man 2 teaser as well, which I think will be similar to that teaser we got in like E3 2016, where it's like 30 seconds and it's like a demo. It's like a tech demo thing.
Do you reckon we get a God of War teaser, Duels?
No.
It would be pretty cool if like it.
I'd fucking lose my mind.
Like, one more thing. It's just like, we've got long to go, boy.
Yeah.
It's like God of War 2.
God of War, I think, is easily the furthest away out of the games. Out of the I guess with the exception of Naughty Dog, but out of all the first parties, I think it's probably one of the furthest away. I think we'll get Days Gone 2 before we get God of War 2 or whatever that'll be called.
I'd be so keen for Days Gone 2 at launch. Like, holy shit.
At launch, so yeah, they only took 8 years to make Days Gone 1.
Oh, dude, it was such a good game.
It was good. It didn't deserve the shit it got. It was, it was unfortunately it was subject to bad PR. I've also got here just some points on what to possibly expect at this event. So, and we can kind of talk about these as we go. So we'll get more details on PS5, just, in general kind of details. I think maybe more layman's terms on the tech side of things and how the SSD will benefit loading times and game performance. And, hopefully someone other than Mark Cerny will talk about that. I think we will potentially, so I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, potentially get a sneak peek at the UI. What do you think about that? Do you think it's possible?
Oh, I'd like it.
Yeah.
I'd really like it.
So, what I think would be so sick is if to really showcase these, the rumor of how they really want to nail home the fact that the SSD can boast like ridiculous, almost non-existent loading times, is if they're like, all right, how about we take it for a, test drive? How about we take it for a spin? They boot up the PS5. We see the splash screen. We see them log in. We see a quick look at the UI. And then we see like a bunch of different games like Last of Us 2, Spider-Man, God of War. And it's like, oh, how about we boot up Ratchet and Clank? And they go in and it's like, pop, and it's like in the game.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy hell. And he starts playing and like, dude, that's insane. Like people flip. Yeah.
That's what it's going to be like though. Straight up.
Dude, like that's how you do it. Like that's seriously how you do it. And then immediately you can just imagine the chat. Rip Xbox, fuck Phil Spencer. No, I'm kidding. He's a good guy.
He's listening to the podcast.
Oh no, we've lost our only listener, Phil Spencer, head of Xbox. That would be a dream to see the UI. I think now's a good time because I think I've also got here. We're not going to see the actual box. I think that's not going to be talked about till later or shown off later. And that's in that same stroke. I don't think we're going to be told the price either. So pre-orders will not be opening next week. I think that's maybe for a July, maybe even August thing. I don't know. Do you have different opinion on that? Do you think we might see a box or a price or anything? Or
no, I think you're right. I think this is much more of a teaser sort of event. If they're doing anything, it would just be like giving you a cup of water rather than the bottle for your thirst.
It's a great analogy, Has.
Thank you, Dools. Came up with it just now.
I can tell.
But no, I think you're right. I don't think they're going to show all their cards in their one hand at once,
Yes. I think just...
You got to keep them wanting, Dools. You got to keep them wanting.
Just because, they know everyone's at home and, digital events are the thing now and there's no E3. Even though they weren't actually going to go, they announced long before the coronavirus pandemic was a thing that they were not attending E3 for the second year in a row, which I was like actually shocked by because I was like, oh, I thought they were just taking a year off simply because they had nothing to show. Surely they'll be there next year because of PS5. And I couldn't believe that they kind of just told me that E3 was dead. Like, I was like, wow. So it's just it wasn't Sony not having anything to show. That to me told me like they don't believe in E3 anymore. So right. So I think they won't disclose the costs or a specific release date, but I think they will reaffirm the holiday 2020 window. So on American terms, fall 2020.
Yeah, I think we'll get a release date.
You think we will? See, I think you just give us that at the same time that. Because, I just imagine them showing us the box, price, release date, and by the way, you can pre-order it right now in the one event.
You're probably right. I
mean, I don't know. That would be awesome. But at the same time, what do we do with a release date? We already kind of know it's November. I'm just thinking, like, don't tell us the release date until we can fucking pre-order it. Otherwise, that's just going to piss people off.
It's true.
So I don't know.
We'll see, Dools. It's all up in speculation right now. And this time next week, we'll know more.
I agree, yeah. I've also just got here, we might see what PS5 disc covers look like. What do you think about that? Seeing a lot of mock designs, a lot of mock fan designs showing them basically looking like PS4 boxes, but black instead of blue, which I like. I actually like. Don't mind it.
Interesting. Interesting. That's a cool idea.
Or even white, because with black text, because we've obviously seen the DualShock, which is hinting at a white PS5, and because the DualShock being prominently white with like black decals, but who knows?
Interesting. Interesting. Take us home, Dools.
Take us home. I got one more point, and I'll gently rock you to sleep after this. All right? How's that sound?
Appreciate it.
So you touched on it before, Avengers being available on PS5 at launch. So I think what that'll look like is so basically Xbox have talked about something called smart delivery, which is basically like, marketing speak for, you can get a free upgrade from your, if you buy a particular game on Xbox One, you won't have to buy it again on Xbox One X. So some publishers that have confirmed this are CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077. They're like, if you buy it on Xbox One, you get it for free on Xbox One X. And I think EA have confirmed that with COD and Madden. I don't know about COD, but they haven't showed COD yet, but I think they've confirmed it with Madden. And basically, I think a few other games have as well. Assassin's Creed, actually, is one. So I'm just wondering, do you think... they might not talk about it here, but I think, do you think or hope PlayStation has a similar kind of answer to that? Like, I mean, could you imagine if PlayStation is like, you bought Cyberpunk on PS4, but you got to buy it again on PS5 when Xbox is doing the complete opposite? I mean, there's just no way they can get away with that.
No, absolutely. I think that since the PS3 launched within a ridiculous price, it was like $1,000 Australian. And since that mishap, they've really listened to gamers. Like whether it be the price of PS3 lowering to $299 USD, whatever that was Australian, like $650 or something. Just not that bad for a launch console, if I'm being completely honest. To that whole mishap that Xbox did with the beginning of the current generation of borrowing games.
Yes,
you can't do that. That they would see this and be like, no, we like, if we go down the route of you have to buy both PS4 and PS5, that's going to anger the community, because that's the one thing that they're really focused on is community of gamers. So I don't think that they'll go down that route. I reckon they'll go the same route as Xbox, because I don't see them as allowing that to be an issue.
Yeah, I'm pretty hopeful that, it would just be so predatory and stupid for one thing like this to happen on one console and on the other. I mean, it would make Sony look really bad. The only thing that has me worried is that, Xbox are going out of their way to do a lot of pro-consumer moves that Sony just aren't even bothered with mimicking, simply because, for the sole reason that they're lagging behind at competition. So I mean, they got to try and think of ways to catch up. So a few examples being backwards compatibility. Xbox, you can play almost every 360 game and a good chunk of original Xbox games on your Xbox One right now. You can't play a single PS3 game on PS4. You can play a handful of PS2 games that only those developers chose to release, and only a handful of PS1 games. So that's a little ridiculous. And that doesn't even look like, apparently it's not guaranteed we can play every single PS4 game on PS5 either, which is insane. And people are getting ahead of themselves thinking like, oh my God, we're going to have backwards compatibility all the way to PS1. So, I mean, we jumped the gun with that. So I'm a little worried that, they don't need to be as pro-consumer, because they've just run away with the market. They've sold 100+ million consoles. And, I mean, I don't know. Hopefully we don't have a cocky Sony who thinks that, they've secured the lead already for next gen. But, that they listen to the consumers. But, I mean, honestly, I'm a little skeptical, but hopeful at the same time. So, yeah.
Nice, Dools. Nice. Take us home, Dools. Take us home.
Has this been I don't know. I mean, this is a More Cops on Duty in discussion episode. This is episode, what is this, 53? 53, I believe? 53. Episode 53. I hope you've enjoyed my voice as I fucking dominated this. Clearly, one person's a bit more into the video game scene than the other, but that's all right. Haz will be back next week with your usual movie talk. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those other podcast platforms that we always talk about. We're on Instagram and Twitter. And, of course, go to the newly launched morecopsonduty.com. I'm Dools, Has is Has, and you are you. We're out.